Back out with the buggy. Yesterday we built out our shock tower mounts so that we got our struts all tied in there good, and they're solid as can be. This is kind of a nice thing, as we should. Got some good springiness in this thing. It's finally sitting on its own suspension. Most of our welding in the back end of the cage has been cleaned up and is pretty good. Like I said a few times before, I am never going to lay claim to being the best welder in the world, but I'm enough to get by. And well, I've built, this will be my second cage. Well, this buggy's my second cage I built. I built the first one for Suzuki Samurai, along with some help from a buddy. And then I built the front half of this cage and ran it for a couple years. And now I'm adding on with this process and building the rear passenger section out on this cage. And I've rolled one of my cages and it survived, so I'm assuming if I roll this cage, it'll survive as well. Nice thing about being able to do your own welding is if you bend something, you can always unbend it and re-weld it. So as long as you survive. And I've survived all the other times, so here's hoping, fingers crossed and all that. Anyhow, today we're finally putting in the cross members up here in the back end. I think I've, as usual, changed ideas every single step of the way. And since this is basically already creating a box over this rear passenger section from the middle bar to the rear bar, I think what I'm going to do is, instead of dropping another bar in the same way, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bar backwards straight through the middle, right over the top here, and have that be the last bar in this cage up top. Just have one splitting right down the middle. So I got an X up front. If I put that here, that'll keep the front end from crunching in. It's already got good side-to-side compression. It's got good up and down. So hopefully, I think that'll also look kind of cool too. And I used to have like a canvas tarp sign a top on the front end for shade. And if I get something that's extended a little longer, then having that center rail there will help hold it up and it won't flap too much. So that's where we're going. I just cut this 41.5-inch tube and then use the grinder to notch both ends. And I know there's going to be people out there that say, you know, there's a tool for that. Like I hear all the time. Oh, there's a tool for that. Well, I don't know if you noticed the name of my channel, but if I had the money for all the tools that are out there available, this wouldn't be called shoestring. So I'm doing with what I've got, doing with what I know how, and it's served me pretty well so far in life. If I had the money for all those tools, I'd probably also have the money to buy somebody else's buggy that was already pre-made. Although that wouldn't be nearly as much fun and I wouldn't enjoy it nearly as much. I find a great amount of the joy in doing projects like this is doing them yourself, building them out of your own brain. There's a couple different channels I watch on YouTube that sort of inspire me in that realm. And there's one called Build Your Dream, I think is what it's called. And yeah, this is pretty much it. This is building my dream. I've been having this wild nightmare in my head for a while, and it's finally coming into reality. So I hope everybody who's watching is enjoying the madness that's coming forth from my brain. Or at least getting a good laugh out of it anyway. I don't know why I would be if I was watching. There you have it. Not too bad. Visually clean. It'll hold it. I'll keep it locked in. There's our new rear crossmember, solidly attached. One more tube for the top, one that's gonna run right down the middle. So I'm gonna have to clean some of that orange paint off of that middle bar there. But, I was mentioning shoestring in here, just to give you full disclosure of how shoestring. Yesterday the trigger on my gun broke. Well, it's still running, and I didn't have to buy another one. I know, I'm a cheap bastard. What can I tell you? That is life around here. That's what makes things fun, or at least interesting. There we have it. Got the middle tube running now. That is our last cage part, I think. Of course, I should always say I think. It's just about the time I feel like I'm happy with where I'm at, I'm gonna end up tossing in something else, just cause. But that adds a little more something over the top of the two passengers in the rear, so that if this were to roll over, nothing's just gonna come right down through the middle. Got enough structure, I think, crossbar wise, not to have it crushing in from the sides. There's still a great possibility of adding some kind of a bar down here behind the seats, depending on how I go seatbelt wise. Although I may just go, you know, standard shoulder belts. This thing really isn't going to be off-roading a lot. This is more of a street buggy. It always has been. Never really had the shocks or suspension built out for anything more than that. Plus, honestly, I think it's a whole hell of a lot more fun to rally on something like this on the street, simply for the attention factor, let's call it. I always believed, after riding motorcycles for years, that drawing people's eyes and getting noticed was a lot better than being missed in the mix. Only takes, you know, what, about 3 times of almost getting run over by some jackass who didn't see me to teach me that motorcycles wasn't something I wanted to keep doing, because I like living, and ending up a hood ornament or a road pancake just didn't seem like a good way to go out. So having something with a cage around me that's still just a bunch of fun to drive and a whole lot less boring than your average daily commuter vehicle is the way to go in my mind. But I'm a little crazy like that, so who can say?